Hello everyone, I'm here to announce that we finally released the Jobin.cloud Client Portal and evaluation scorecards. This is version 1, so as always, if you have any feedback, let us know in the comments or on the Discord community server. So let me give you a quick rundown on how it works. So head over to the jobs page and pick the job of interest that you want to share with your client or hiring manager. And from here, you'll find a Client Portal button. We'll probably change up the jobs page very soon, so like I said, don't reference this too closely. But from here, you can now pick which stages of that pipeline you want to share with the client. So here I can, for example, say I want to share, the contacted stage, the received CV stage, and the evaluation stage. And from here, I can also define the actual approval stage. What this means is essentially the client or manager that I'm sharing this with doesn't just visualize what's going on in the pipeline, so they can see the contacts in there and how it's progressing, but I can also have them actually input something and perform a executive decision like approval or rejection on specific candidates. And I can say anyone that I add into the evaluation stage should be my approval stage. Everyone in the evaluation stage is the approval stage. If approved, I move them to job offer, and if rejected, I instead have them move to unsuccessful exit. Now, if I want, I can also let the client or hiring manager continue seeing contacts that, like I say, go to the job offer stage or unsuccessful stage, so I can toggle those on as well. This is where you'd be inviting the client. And then here you can have some various settings on setting up, well, what can the client see or do, it depends. So since I added the approval and rejection stage, I also have the option to customize the scorecard. Essentially, for the approval and rejection, I can either rely on the recruiters defining the scorecard, so I can make the client only view the scorecard, or if left disabled, the client can fill out the scorecard themselves. And if I want to, I can even let the clients actually build the scorecard. So this is something probably you want to enable if you're working internally and the manager is essentially a colleague and internal manager of your company. If you're working with outsourced clients, then you may want to set up a scorecard for them. I guess this depends. You can customize this. You can also customize the visibility. So by default, it's anonymizing them. So it's not showing contact information, social links, or the companies the candidates have been working in, as well as the name of the candidates. But you can, of course, disable this. And you can also choose to share or not share tags. And they can even participate in adding tags. So once again, if you're working with like a colleague manager within your company, you might want to enable this. And you can also choose to share the actual resumes. So whenever candidates attach a resume, you can actually let them see the resume themselves rather than the parsed profile. And you can also choose to share the activity events, so they can actually see the conversations and everything that's been going on. And you can also choose to share all notes. So to clarify here, this means that you can individually choose this note should be visible for the client directly when you're setting up the notes and writing them down on a contact. This instead is a shortcut for saying every note should by default be visible. So it makes things, I can say, easier if you're open to sharing everything with the client. But otherwise, by default, you probably want to keep this off. Now, to make things fancier, we're going to also disable the anonymize. So we have, like I said, profiles look nicer since it shows more details. I guess we can also include the resume tab. I haven't actually attached any resumes, but it's just to kind of showcase that. And here below, you can actually find the scorecard. This is the default, so it's auto-generated. They're relatively designed to be all-encompassing criteria. So the actual core role match, then the actual evidence of if they match the role. So I guess they've worked on projects or tasks that match that requirement, the scope, and then the transferable potential here is instead kind of like the career path, how well it aligns with what they'd like. And then practical fit is actually, how willing are they with the salaries or the location? Like I said, it's the practical fit. But you can, of course, change these to match your own customer criteria or anything you need. And you can even let the client change that if you want. Once that's all done, you can press View as Client, and you can actually see how the client would see it once you invite them. So you'd be inviting them when you add them from here. So from here, we can now see the 4 stages that we enabled on the earlier control panel. We can see the contacts within it. We can, of course, view those contacts so we can see the details. And this is because I have disabled anonymized, so you can actually see the details and information. And you see the resume, the notes, all that can be found from here. And also the contact info if necessary. But here's how the process works. So here at the top, you've got different tabs that you can select from. The pipeline gives you the general overview of how are things progressing, where are the contacts, But then here from candidate evaluation is where you can actually see a more full screen overview of each contact that is within the evaluation stage. So to clarify, it's the contacts that are in the evaluation one we just selected earlier. So we've got Oliver there, in fact. So when we go here, we can review Oliver. How's his profile? Do we like them? Yes, no. We can define the score for the profile. We can even add an evaluation note here at the bottom. And then once we're happy with them, let me put, I guess, some more details here just so that we've got something to work with. And then say, I like them, approve, and that moves them forward. And if we now look at the pipeline, we can see that they're in the job offer stage, so they're progressing. However, you can also do things in a more schematic way, because as mentioned, the client doesn't necessarily have to set up the score themselves. So assuming that these contacts have already been scored, and let me actually take a step back and score them from the contacts page so we can actually see how it looks like. If I, as the recruiter, were setting up the scorecards for the client, I can directly open the contact of interest, head over to the job application tab, and this is where I'll find the job where I can fill in that scorecard. So I can define all those criteria as usual and have that set up. Now, if we go back to the client portal, just to visualize things, we can once again see the score reflected here. But let's say that we score all the contacts we had. So let's just add some scores here. Okay, I finished scoring everyone. So here's the comparison and approval page. This is the more systematic, compact view where the client, or well, anyone that's reviewing, can see all the contacts put together, and they can more systematically see how they're scoring, and they're ordered automatically by the total score they have from the scorecards. This is a very easy way for them to systematically say approve, reject for each contact from here. And they can even do so in bulk. In fact, they can just pick this selection square or run a bulk selection from here, and then bulk approve, bulk reject. Now, besides this more compact view, you can also actually export these reports in PDF, Excel, or PowerPoint. So in case you don't want the clients to directly view and approve the contacts through the client portal, and instead you just want to show them a nice report of everyone that you've screened, then let me showcase how these three look. So I'll go ahead and download all three here. And let me download the third one. There you go. And let me switch over to those other screens. So on the PowerPoint view, we've got a PowerPoint presentation of each candidate with, like I said, the detailed scorecard rundown. Of course, if we go in anonymized view, these names are anonymized with just the initials. For the Excel view, as you might expect, we've got a more, again, data-centric view with the weight scores, contacts, their IDs, and all that. And last but not least is the PDF view, which gives a nice visual table of all the scores for each contact. This nicely wraps up the client portal. And like this, we finally have a way for clients to easily review and move along the contacts through your pipeline if you enable the client approval and rejection step. Let us know if you have any feedback, any suggestions or features you'd like to see on the client portal. We're always open to adding more features, and looking forward to seeing you on the next one.